My name is Mike Kelly. I'm a 69-year-old resident of Folsom, California. I'm retired from the state of California, and I currently work as a landscape laborer for my wife's landscaping business. I'm passionate about two hobbies. One, bodybuilding, and two, riding these rails as a railroad handcar racer. So what's a railroad handcar, you might ask? Well, maybe you've seen some of these old movies where you see somebody pumping a car down the track. Essentially, a railroad handcar is something that's a cart that's propelled by anywhere from 2 to 4 people. And it was used back in the 1800s by railroad crews to repair track and take equipment back and forth on the rails. The sport of railroad handcar racing has been around for, as far as I know, at least 40 years. It started with the World Championships up in Port Moody, British Columbia, Canada. And then they started having races all over the United States and Canada. They've had races in Utah, Las Vegas, Santa Cruz, Old Sacramento, Folsom. So it's become quite a popular sport over the years. The distance of a handcar race is going to vary by the course, and they usually vary anywhere between 200 meters and 300 meters in length. So it takes approximately 25 to 45 seconds to do the race. Because it's such a short distance, and often the distance between a couple of teams can be a tenth or even several hundredths of a second. So they have an electronic eye at the beginning of the race and then an electronic eye at the ending of the race. So to start out a race, it starts from a dead stop at the beginning, and you have 4 pumpers on the car ready to start. Then you have a pusher on the back of the car getting ready to push the car. And underneath the car is a nice little foam pad. And so when the gun goes off to go, the pusher will go ahead and extend and push as far as he can. The pumpers begin to pump and groan and grunt to get down the track as fast as they can. Now, a handcar team is made up of 5 competitors. You've got one person known as the pusher, who gets you off from a dead stop to overcome inertia. Then you have 4 pumpers on the car. So at the count of go, the pusher will go ahead and push from a dead stop and fall onto a foam pad to get you off to a good start. Now, the quality of pushers versus pumpers are quite different. To be a good pumper, you've got to be, physically fit, you've got to be pound for pound strong, and you've got to have some pretty good endurance. But probably the most important part of the race is the start. And so the pusher plays a critical role in how good your team can do. So, we want a pusher that's a very tall person that has a long reach to extend that push, and usually a lot of power behind it. Our pusher is about 6'7". He weighs about 325 pounds. So he can get us off to a good start. I got started in the sport of handcar racing about 36, 37 years ago when a friend of mine who is a guide at the Railroad Museum got a flyer about this handcar race that they were having up in Port Moody, British Columbia. So it sounded kind of fun, so he put together a team of people that he thought would be pretty competitive. We went up to Canada, and we had a great time racing. We were extremely competitive. We ended up losing the World Championship by 13 100ths of a second. And we got so excited about holding these races that we decided to try to put them on here in Sacramento. So the Sacramento Railroad Museum hosted the old Sacramento National Handcar Race Championship for a number of years. And they had a huge event. It was a 2-day event, over 100 different teams, and there's 5 members on the team, so there was a lot of people involved in this. Now, I have had the honor and privilege to be associated for probably the last 25, 26 years with a team called Just Us 5. And Just Us 5 was started by Mr. Stan Wilkins, who along with several other members, worked at the Department of Justice, hence the name Just Us 5. We've had a team that we've raced together for probably about the last 25, 26 years, which is extremely important in the sport of handcar racing because timing is critical. You got to make sure that your team is in sync because the handle goes up and down. You want to make sure that you're not fighting each other along the way and optimize the distance of the stroke each way. Handcars that are used for racing nowadays are a little bit heavier duty than the type of car that they were using back in the 1800s for the railroad crews. They're now built a little sturdier, so they're probably about 850 pounds in weight. Now, if you start thinking about 4 people on top of the car that are an average of maybe 200 pounds each, you're looking at about a 1,500 pound weight that the pusher has to go ahead and push off at the beginning of the race. Now, our team is made up of Mr. Jerome Jeffries, who's 63 years old, Greg Heberling, who's 62 years old. Our captain, Stan Wilkins, is 76 years old. I'm 69 years old. And our pusher is the young guy. He's in his late 50s. So the unique thing about just us 5, we've been around for so long, but also we still are very competitive with some of the elite teams in the race. Now, to prepare for a race, we spend a lot of time working out the remainder of the year, either at the gym, or if I don't have time to get to the gym, oftentimes I'll just run over to the school by my house and I'll do a lot of body weight exercises. So to prepare for a handcar race, you have to have a mix of both strength and endurance. It's important to be pound for pound strong when you're on a handcar because you're carrying your own weight. Now, I love to go over to the middle school by where I live and do a lot of push-ups, pull-ups, run wind sprints, bar dips, anything I can just to try to mix it up a little bit, and then also spend several days in the gym working out, doing a little bit of both power training and then endurance training too. So it takes quite a few, people will oftentimes they'll say, well, geez, does it really make sense to practice, to work out all year long just for a 30-second race? Well, for me, yeah, it is worth it because then I've got bragging rights. I have to live with what I do in that race all the way until the next race. So I want to make sure that I am in top form and able to do my best at a handcar race whenever we have one. Well, I hope during this interview I've piqued your interest to try to find out more about railroad handcar racing. And if you'd like to find out more information, just Google Folsom Handcar Derby and you'll find a website where you can go to, and they usually have the races sometime right around the first part of May every year. But bottom line is whatever you enjoy doing, you should do. So whatever type of exercise, I think it's really important for your longevity. And my motto is you don't stop exercising because you grow old. You grow old because you stop exercising.